So on the 15th of August, the Prime Minister introduced the idea of Dimagi Naxals from his speech in Red Fort. Within a 24-hour window, the concept became part of memes and jokes all over the country. I want to spend this video actually thinking about how much India has changed in the last 8 years when urban Naxals as an idea was introduced, and it became a serious accusation, so much so that law and order started using it as part of their court documents. And now this idea of Dimagi Naxals simply has not taken off. One could even argue it has backfired on the government. Let's take a look at how much India has changed and what this one change tells us about where we are right now. So on the 15th of August, the Prime Minister speaking at Red Fort basically said that Naxalism has been completely destroyed, but still there are some Dimagi Naxals who are looking for an opportunity, looking for ways of violence, trying to drag the country down the wrong path. And he said we have to unite against these Dimagi Naxals, people who have entered public life and government committees and institutions. Almost immediately, it caught on fire. P. Chidambaram was among the first politicians to respond, and he said, I'm proud to be a Dimagi Naxal. After which Arvind Kejriwal said, I'm proud to be a Dimagi Naxal. He went on to say, if they were alive, Bhagat Singh and Ambedkar would be Dimagi Naxals. And he said, people who are demanding better facilities, hospitals, drainage systems, they are all being given the same label. And other members of the opposition then followed. To this point, the government, via Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju, clarified. And one could argue the clarification actually made it worse. Kiran Rijiju said the Prime Minister didn't say that opposition leaders are Dimagi Naxals. He said, according to him, Dimagi Naxals are people who, one, support Maoists and reject the Indian Constitution, two, stand with separatists and support Article 370, and four, those who want to cut the chicken neck and separate Northeast from India. Now, there was a problem. Fundamentally, he numbered them 1, 2, and 4. Number 3 was missing. And of course, the internet immediately pointed that out. Members of the opposition, Pawan Kera, Jairam Ramesh, all of them said that, okay, you obviously can't even count. They said, get your counting right first, and then we will answer all of your questions. So it didn't actually help. It just gave the internet more fodder to laugh at. By this point, there was an Instagram handle called the Dimagi Naxal Party, looking very much like the Cockroach Janata Party, that suddenly had about 5 lakh followers. And this was it was a handle that was set up about a month ago, mostly has memes and jokes and parody, and they changed their name to reflect this new trend. And that's effectively what happened to the idea of Dimagi Naxals. It just became a meme and a joke and a parody. And remember, the word Dimagi is a compliment in Hindi. It indicates thinking, it indicates intellect, it indicates the use of your mind. So while the Prime Minister may have intended that a Dimagi Naxal is someone who ideologically is sympathetic towards Maoism or Naxalism, social media interpreted as Dimagi means thinking means questioning, which means that if I question and I dissent, that I am a Dimagi Naxal, so hence I am one. It became a political sort of label that people happily then adopted. Which brings me to the question that I was asking when I saw all of this play out. I thought about all of the things that have been coined in India in the past. Things like Tukre Tukre gang, things like Han Market gang, things like urban Naxals. And urban Naxal actually was the one that caught on in the most serious way. When I was looking at the history, apparently, Arun Jaitley was the first one to say urban Naxal back in 2014. Filmmaker Vivek Agnihotri wrote it in his book in 2018 called Urban Naxals. But the real serious turn happened in 2018 when the Bhima Koregaon investigation happened. And we actually had the police use the term urban Naxal against activists and lawyers and academics and writers and journalists who had been arrested and prosecuted under one of the most serious laws in our country, which is the UAPA. Now, urban Naxal itself did not evolve into a formal, legal category because the Home Ministry then submitted to Parliament that it does not use that phrase at all. But nevertheless, during the Bhima Koregaon investigations, some really serious accusations were made against, like I said, people who are writers and lawyers and activists and academics. And you'll remember Father Stan Swami, who died in jail, waiting for the court to grant him a straw, who was being called an urban Naxal. So urban Naxal very quickly became an accusation that people wanted to distance themselves from. Dimagi Naxal, on the other hand, has become something people are happily embracing. What does this tell us about India in the last 8 years? And this is what I was looking at, and this is what I want to share with you. Now, when urban Laxal entered the mainstream vocabulary in 2018, we were a very different India. Remember, 2014, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi led his party to victory. The BJP was expanding. Balkot attack happened. All of this feeling of national security, muscular nationalism was happening in India. And when the term urban Naxal was coined, it became a stigma label very quickly and became very dangerous very quickly because of how social media was designed at that point. So back then in 2018, social media was mostly Facebook, Twitter, organized political messaging on WhatsApp. So what would happen is basically a term would be coined. It would be all over social media, would get picked up and formalized by mainstream television, who would start accusing people on debates of being urban Naxals. Immediately, it would start to go on to your WhatsApp as well. And it would be everywhere, and it would be a term that everyone would very quickly use. So 2026, where we are right now, social media is different. It's Instagram, it's Reels, it's short form videos, it's meme pages, it's Gen Z humor, it's satire in a way that this formal system does not know how to deal with. So a long ideological argument of what is Maoism and what are sympathizers is not necessarily what will win this environment. A joke will win this environment. Oh, you're calling me Dimagi? Thanks, I'm going to embrace that. So the other very interesting thing that we're seeing right now is that the young Indians who are in their early 20s, 18, 19, 20, 21, they were 8 years old when Narendra Modi was first voted in to become prime minister. For them, this is establishment. This is the establishment that they have grown up with. So this is the establishment that they're making fun of. So remember, back in 2014 or 2018, if you are mocking establishment, you are possibly mocking the UPA or the Congress party. But in 2026, for the average 20-year-old who has no real recollection of what India was like before the BJP, for them, this is the establishment. And this is the establishment that they're comfortable actually poking fun at. So political labels also tend to diminish returns over time. So there was the idea of anti-national, then the Tukre gang, you'll remember, at the time when Umar Khaled and Kanhaiya Kumar were in JNU, Urban Naxal, Andolan Jeevi, Khan Market gang, and now Dimagi Naxal. And it's almost like these phrases have lost their potency with a movement of time. And fundamentally, it's the same theory that I had about the Jantar Mantar, protests and what were being said, and the fact that people complained about the language that was used, is that fear and irreverence work very, very differently. So back in 2018, there was a palpable fear of being accused of something, of having the law and order system move against you. And so everyone operated in a sense of sort of hushed censorship. This is irreverence. Irreverence actually stands up and embraces it, saying, hey, you want to call me that? Call me that. And then we'll see where we take it from there. So authority becomes the butt of jokes in that system of irreverence. And when the phrase is made fun of by 500,000 people in the course of 24 hours, it defangs the accusation completely. And now it does not matter anymore what the government's initial intent was with the idea of Dimagi Naxal. It has become the joke that the internet now sees it as. So the interpretation of that phrase has changed completely because 5 lakh people have decided that this now means that I'm an intellectual person who asks a question of government, so I'm happy to be that. So being a Dimagi Naxal is actually a compliment at this time. So it does seem fundamentally, if we examine that India has evolved in the last 8 years, that the government's or the establishment / the BJP's approach to how they will communicate with the larger population needs to quickly change and needs to be updated to the population that they are talking to. Yes, at one point, they were the political disruptors who delivered victory after victory in an environment where they took out the establishment. But now today you are the establishment. And so when you speak, you are no longer seen as a disruptor alternative. You are the establishment. And that is how the larger population the younger population apparently reads you. And so One wonders if the entire reshuffle of the BJP that we've been reporting for the last 24 hours or so will be able to change the way they're talking to young people, because it does seem like the earlier formats are no longer working. Tell me what you think about the Dimagi Naxals or any other idea that the government may be presenting over the last, 2 months or so. Do you think it's landing, and do you think it's time for the government to perhaps rethink their strategy in communication?